Hello, soul family. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Divine Soul Guidance. I'm sure you've heard of the karmic wheel of justice. What goes around comes around. What you put out, you get back. But it's actually a lot more complex than you might think. In this video lesson, we will examine different perspectives on the term karma, its purpose, how we accumulate it, and how it impacts our relationships. Each and every one of us is here to resolve karma in this lifetime. This karma can be either actions, energy, or intentions that we have put out into the world or towards another. It can be ancestral or familia karma passed down from one generation to the next. Or it can be soul lessons that we are here to work out with others that we meet during this lifetime. Whatever you believe or whatever you currently understand about karma, I hope that you will find this video helpful and will perhaps come away with a deeper understanding of it. Understanding karma and how we accumulate it, as well as what we can do to resolve it, will ultimately allow us to be free of the chains of suffering that keep many human beings trapped. Not only that, but being conscientious and aware of how our actions impact others can help us live a more balanced, harmonious, and humble life. We will be more likely to use discernment before acting and will hopefully do less harm to others. Finally, we will be able to overcome repeating patterns and challenges that are holding us back from becoming our highest, most authentic selves. For the purpose of this video, I'm using antidotes and examples that apply to my own personal experience and those that I have been called to share. Please feel free, however, to do your own research, consult your own higher understanding, and leave whatever does not resonate. Let's see what we can uncover today. All right, first, let's begin with a definition of what karma is and why it exists. Karma, by definition, is the idea that what you do comes back to you. The concept of karma has its roots in Hinduism, although it has extended to other cultures and religions as well. The main premise of karma is this: our actions, thoughts, and intentions have consequences. Every action we take, whether good or bad, has a corresponding result. If our actions and intentions are positive, then we shall receive positive results in return. If our actions and intentions are negative or harmful, then we shall receive a negative consequence instead. Over time, the results of our actions, both positive and negative, are what shape our destiny. Some will even say that the results of our actions, if left unresolved, can be carried over from one lifetime to the next. Therefore, your current life may be marked by unresolved lessons or karma that you failed to resolve in a previous lifetime. Let's say, for example, that in a previous lifetime, you acted unconsciously and stole money from someone. Perhaps you were greedy, or perhaps you were in a very desperate financial situation and didn't know how to get out of it. Either way, you created bad karma with another individual by stealing his or her money or goods. And because you did not repay that individual before you died in that lifetime, the bad karma you accumulated was carried forward with you into another lifetime. Maybe even in your next lifetime, you struggled again with poverty and lack. To go even further, in your next lifetime, someone may have even stolen from you this time. Or perhaps you lost a large sum of money through some other event. The lesson is what to do when we are lacking or we don't have financial security. It is being returned to you a second time in another lifetime so that you have another chance to learn how to get yourself out of that situation and resolve your bad karma. If you pass the test or lesson, then your bad karma is resolved. If you don't, you continue to carry that bad karma forward with you, often accumulating more bad karma than what you started with, until your soul finally masters the lesson. Karma, then, you can say, is the whole of our experience from this lifetime and previous ones, pieced together with both the good and the bad energy that we have put out into the world. And because what we put out into the world ultimately comes back to us in some way, this is why the concept of karma is often linked to the universal law of cause and effect. Every action has a consequent reaction or effect. It is also linked to the universal law of compensation, which basically states that you reap what you sow. The two ideas are very similar. So, why does karma exist then? Why has the universe designed a law or laws such as these for nothing other than to teach us a lesson? Well, there are actually several reasons, and I'm going to move away from the screen and use a whiteboard to illustrate because I think it'll help make a little bit more sense. All right, number one, karma brings things into balance. Every action has an opposite or equal reaction, meaning that if someone offsets the scales of justice through unconscious or harmful behaviors, such as lying, cheating, gossip, slander, theft, manipulation, control, abuse, violence, oppression, the universe will bring things back into balance with an equally harmful consequence in that person's life. This can be person to person, or it can be person to systems. For example, government is a system. If a government intentionally harms its people through manipulation, through abuse, through control systems, then eventually the karmic reaction will be that that government system will collapse. The universe will work to bring things into balance. It is always working to bring divine order so that everyone may live and thrive in harmony. All right, number two, karma exists to bring justice. It's not necessarily a punishment like people think, or sometimes you'll hear messages about karma being a punishment. It is about justice. If you act unconsciously, you hurt someone else, you wish for someone else's downfall, the boomerang is eventually going to come back at you. Eventually, you're going to feel the weight of your actions in some form or another. It may not be immediate, but it will come to you sooner or later, because it is the universe's way of making wrongs right. And in some ways, this is comforting because there is no need for us to take justice into our own hands. There is no need for us to seek revenge or go after someone if they've hurt us. God and the universe will teach that person their karmic lessons and will bring justice and divine order to the situation. We do not have to intervene. Number three, karma teaches us certain soul lessons that we cannot learn on our own. Because everything we do comes back to us in some way, shape, or form, there is nothing that we can do to escape the consequences of our actions. If, for example, we don't learn a lesson the first time it is presented to us, we will most likely be given a second chance or a third, fourth chance to get it right. These karmic or soul lessons aren't always about what we have done to harm someone else. Sometimes they are lessons like self-abandonment or self-betrayal. For example, if I am someone who is always sacrificing my needs for the needs of another, or I perhaps abandon my own needs to stay in a relationship, then I may see that pattern or soul lesson repeated in several different relationships until I finally decide to stop abandoning myself and put my needs first. Number four, or lastly, karma exists to help our souls evolve. It is kind of like our life's blueprint. Each one of us is born into this world with certain gifts, but also certain limitations. In order for us to evolve and reach our highest potential, we have to master certain lessons. And the better we get at mastering these lessons in this lifetime, the sooner that we can reach a state of euphoria and enlightenment, where we are living in the highest and fullest expression of ourselves. So it's like we have to go on this journey of growth and mastery until we finally reach a level where we are at our highest potential. And sometimes that takes lifetimes. We don't always get it right in one lifetime. So we keep going through certain lessons or the wheel of karma until we reach a point where we are done learning the lessons and we have fully mastered what we needed to master in this lifetime. If you're familiar with Dolores Cannon's work, she talks a lot about this concept of karma. She talks about how our souls cannot elevate to higher levels or dimensions of consciousness until we have resolved all of our karma here on earth. It's like a wheel that just keeps turning and sort of repeating itself until we decide we want to get off that wheel. So we keep going around and round in these circles, repeating lessons, seeing the same patterns, meeting similar types of people, seeing the same situation come into our physical reality until we finally have the courage and the awareness to break the pattern and jump off the wheel. When we can do that, then our soul is finally free, and we will not have to return to earth in the next lifetime to repeat any more lessons. We can then move to a higher, more peaceful realm of existence, which for some is called the fifth dimension, or it even goes way beyond 5 dimensions. For myself personally, I have experienced karma to be somewhat like Dolores Cannon describes, kind of a repeating loop of certain lessons, but then also things that come back to me because of choices that I've made. As I grow and evolve, and as I became more spiritually aware, I became more aware of my patterns. And then I was able to start identifying more quickly and more easily whether I was repeating a pattern or I was in a situation or a relationship that was showing me a certain lesson that I had seen before, but perhaps hadn't mastered or hadn't overcome it yet. So you get to be really good at recognizing these patterns, and you're like, oh, wait, I have seen this pattern before. I know where this is leading. I am not going to do this to myself again. I'm not going to repeat this pattern. I do not wish to have this experience again. And you break the cycle. Once you do that, your soul then is going to elevate. So you're going to start to maybe encounter people that are more in alignment with you. You're going to start to encounter opportunities that are more in alignment with you, choices that match your higher self. And that's how you keep elevating. So you've got to pass those lessons. You've got to master those loops or break those patterns in order for you to keep going. I've also learned that as we're experiencing these lessons, we need to be really gentle and compassionate with ourselves. We can't beat ourselves up and say that we're a failure because we've had to repeat a certain lesson 3 times. You really have to have patience and understanding with yourself, because we are all learning. We're all here to learn. It has also taught me to have patience with other people, because everyone's on their own journey and everyone learns their lessons at a different pace. So maybe one person only needs to see a pattern once before they break it, but somebody else may have to go through that cycle 5, 6, 7 times. And some lessons or cycles are harder to break than others because perhaps they stem back lifetimes. We never know what karma somebody is carrying into this lifetime. We never know what happened to them in previous lifetimes or in their family ancestral lineage to cause them to have to repeat certain patterns. And it really isn't up to us. It doesn't matter. And it's really not up to us to judge, because everyone is on their own path of evolution. Sometimes, for whatever reason, we resist learning certain lessons. I think there has to be a certain level of readiness. For whatever reason, maybe we have life circumstances that are overwhelming us and we're just not ready to deal with that lesson at the time. Maybe there's some fears of letting go of certain patterns that have kept us safe and comfortable. Maybe we don't have the emotional capacity to take on certain situations or learning certain lessons. But I've learned that there's resistance, and that when we're ready, when divine timing comes into play, everything will align and we will move on and master those lessons. But there's no possibility of rushing things. You cannot rush your lessons. You cannot make yourself be ready if you're not ready. So I try to be really gentle, and I try to remind myself of that we will come to the lessons when the time is right. I will just say this. It's always easier to judge someone else from the outside, or even to judge ourselves, thinking that we should have learned lessons sooner, we should have left unhealthy situations before we did. But hindsight is always 20/20. When you're in it, oftentimes you don't see what is happening, and that too is part of the learning process. As you awaken more and more, you will notice that you become very adept at pattern recognition and also more accountable and more self-aware. You'll begin to understand that lessons and patterns are not repeating as punishment, but rather to help you master yourself and make better choices. Each time you make a new choice or master a new lesson, you receive the key to unlock a door that advances you to the next level. The more doors you unlock, the greater your potential, your happiness, and your success. All right, now that we know what karma is and why it exists, let's look at some examples of karmic or soul lessons that you may see played out in your life. Karmic lessons are issues or choices from our past that we have not yet resolved or dealt with. Some common types of soul lessons include trust and honesty, forgiveness, self-trust and self-worth, surrender and acceptance, repetitive relationship dynamics, letting go of attachments, boundaries and autonomy, unconditional love, and abandonment and betrayal. You will recognize these karmic or soul lessons because you may see them repeated in your life in different situations with different people. Your same fears, insecurities, and patterns will keep showing up. That's how you'll know that it's a karmic lesson or a soul lesson. You may also notice some recurrent themes, such as abandonment, betrayal, or rejection in your relationships, which can be a reflection of past choices or actions. Either you experienced these same themes before in different situations, or perhaps you were responsible for doing those behaviors to another person and you have not yet resolved or made peace with them. With these types of karmic lessons or soul lessons, we have to remember that the universe is working to help us master these lessons. It wants our soul to evolve. So these lessons will keep repeating until we have broken the cycle. You will just keep going around and round on that wheel of karma, like I talked about, until you make a different choice, until you let go of the attachments, until you fix your patterns and behaviors, until you heal your inner wounds, or align with the path of your higher self. Once we learn what we are supposed to learn, or we face the situations head on, they will stop repeating themselves, and our lives will become more peaceful and more fulfilling. Now that we've talked a little bit about how to resolve karma or overcome certain karmic lessons, the next question becomes, how do we accumulate karma in the first place? There is more to it than just mastering certain lessons or receiving back what we put out. Karma also includes karmic debts owed to other people from this lifetime or another. It includes ancestral karma, for example, with a family pattern that is passed down from one generation to the next. And finally, karma includes soul contracts with other individuals. We will examine each of these a little bit closer so you can understand how it all works. Let's begin with an example about how karmic debts play out. I previously gave the example of you perhaps owing money to someone or stealing money from someone in a previous lifetime, which created bad karma, and how if you did not repay that person, that bad karma would be carried forward to another lifetime. Well, this can happen with nearly any type of egregious or harmful act that we commit against another person. Betrayal, abuse, neglect, deceit, manipulation, or worse. If we do not self-correct and work to repair the damage that we have done or the harm we have caused to another in this lifetime, that unresolved karma will get carried forward into the next lifetime. Sometimes what this can look like is meeting the same person in a different body and having to work out the karmic debt with that person again, so that hopefully this time we will get it right. That is why sometimes you will feel such familiarity with a person that you meet, almost a soul recognition, like you had met this person before. You perhaps have a history together with this person and something that still needs to be resolved with them in this lifetime. Therefore, that person shows up in your next lifetime, perhaps in a different body, so that you have a second chance at resolving the debt that you owe them. Or sometimes it's not that you owe them a debt, but that they owe you a debt. And so they've come back to make that right with you. Next, and probably the toughest one to understand, is ancestral karma. This type of karma is passed down from one generation to the next. It is sometimes called a generational curse, meaning that some kind of negativity, corruption, or bad karma occurred in your bloodline, no matter how long ago this may have been. This bad karma could be any of the things that we previously mentioned: abuse, betrayal, violence, oppression, theft, addictions. And for whatever reason, no one in your family lineage was able to break the cycle. No one was able to correct the pattern or resolve the bad karma. So the damage kept getting passed down from one generation to the next, until it came to you. You inherited your family's bad karma through birth. But through your own soul's evolution, your own life experiences, you found a way to break the patterns. You freed your family from the bad karma that would have continued to plague your family for generations to come. The last piece I want to mention about how we accumulate karma is with soul contracts. Karmic contracts, or soul contracts, they're called, are basically unfinished business that we have with others from previous lifetimes. Perhaps we met our soulmate in a past life, but for whatever reason, we were torn apart, or we couldn't complete our contract with that person because one or both of us was still learning lessons. Therefore, our souls agreed to reunite and find each other again in this lifetime so that we could get it right. You will recognize a soulmate or a twin flame or a divine soul counterpart much the same way that you will recognize a karmic partner. There is something familiar about them. But Rather than being toxic, like a karmic partner who brings a lot of drama and conflict, this person has come to bring you home to yourself, to help you learn certain soul lessons such as forgiveness, self-worth, unconditional love, patience, and surrender. The universe will orchestrate the coming together of these two souls, or the soul contract, for the purpose of reuniting in harmony in this lifetime, to see if each soul has evolved enough to where this time when they meet, they won't push each other away. They will hold space for one another, and they will learn to grow and evolve to the point where they can complete the soul contract and experience pure divine love. When you meet this type of person, you will know. It is not toxic. It is not full of drama. It is a deep, intimate soul connection that helps you spiritually evolve. In this final piece, we're going to talk about how karma impacts our relationships today. Not every soul we encounter in this lifetime will be able to grow and evolve with us. Not every soul will understand the lessons at the same level that we do. We may be brought together with someone to work out a karmic debt or to learn certain lessons, but that person may not be at a place on their journey where they are ready to evolve at our pace. If this happens and we meet somebody who is still spiritually asleep, you can say, but we are awake and aware, they most likely will not have the skills and the wisdom to break certain patterns or meet us where we are. We may try to heal other people or help them with their own karmic lessons, but in the end, we're only delaying our own progress because each soul has to learn to resolve their own karma. We cannot and should not try to push someone's evolution along. We cannot do the work for them. I am notorious for this, and I have had to rein myself back and learn this lesson over and over again, because I grew up in a household where I was put in the role of being the fixer and the peacekeeper. And through my own soul lessons, this is something I'm learning. Not to push anyone, not to try to help them or do the work for them, because they are here to learn their own lessons and follow their own path. And each person here has just as much access to divine wisdom and information and resources as we do. If they choose to heal, if they choose to pursue their highest path, then it is not up to us to intervene. They will find their own way. We shouldn't be giving somebody unwanted advice unless they ask for it. And we should be allowing each person that we encounter to seek their own answers and find their own way. I think this is especially hard for us, those of us who are parents, because when we see our child going down the wrong path or maybe making choices that we wouldn't have made, we want to help them, right? We want to fix them and give them advice to save them suffering. But we can't do that. And we can't do it with our romantic partners either, because they have to choose. They have to choose, and they're here to learn their own lessons. Now, we will find that there are some souls who simply choose not to evolve. They are in a place where they're just not ready. They choose not to take accountability for their actions. They choose not to break their patterns or learn from their mistakes. Instead, they choose to stay in the same cycles of suffering and victimhood. And sometimes this is because it's more comfortable, it's more familiar to them. Maybe they just don't have the capacity to leave that comfort zone and to heal. They would rather stay where it's comfortable. They would rather stay in their pride, play the role of the victim over and over again, rather than taking control of their lives. I know plenty of these people, and I'm sure that you do too. And we can't judge them for where they're at. That's their soul's path, and they will have to learn from that. Now, that's not to say that those type of individuals still aren't teaching us something, because they absolutely are. Okay. And sometimes individuals in that place still have a lot of great qualities. They can still have many redeeming qualities. But if they're not willing to grow and evolve, we have to walk away from them and we have to allow them to go on their own journey. If they don't, for whatever reason, learn their lessons in this lifetime, they will get another chance to come back and learn them in the next lifetime. And this is why when it comes to the actions of others, that we never need to take things into our own hands, unless it is for the purpose of self-defense or self-protection. That's something different. But we don't need to seek revenge. We don't need to try to destroy someone's character, belittle or berate somebody, because God and the universe will sort that out for us. The universe has its own divine order, and no matter whether we see it happening or not, or maybe the justice takes longer than we expect, the universe will bring justice and balance to the situation. And that's pretty amazing, actually, when you think about it. As you can see, this topic of karma is a big one. We have only just scratched the surface here. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to check out the resources that I left below in the notes. Or if you feel called, I'd love to hear from you in the comments about what karmic lessons, karmic soul contract, or karmic justice you have personally experienced in your life, or if anything that I shared in this video resonated with you in any way. Leave a comment below. I hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to share with somebody you know. Until next time, I hope you have a blessed week. Take care.